Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Brittany from She Run the World, and today I am sharing something that I wish I had before our recent 8-hour road trip, an honest review of the toddler toys we brought along for this road trip. Before the trip, I spent a lot of time researching travel toys and activities that parents absolutely swear by, but as we all know, toddlers have their own opinions, right? And what works for one child might completely flop for another. So instead of just showing you the toys that were a success, I'm also going to share with you the ones that didn't really hold my daughter's attention for very long. My hope is that this video helps you decide what's actually worth packing for your next road trip or your next even day out, and what you might be able to skip. Some of these toys entertained her for a while, some lasted just a few minutes, and a couple were just complete misses. For reference, my daughter is currently 16 months old, and this was an 8-hour road trip, so we got plenty of time to really test everything out. So let's get into the hits, the misses, and everything in between. So we will start with something that she used to love when she was younger, and honestly I kind of knew it wasn't really going to be the biggest hit of the day, but a spinner. So if your daughter or son is a lot younger, these are going to be a hit, because when we traveled and she was way younger, these things would keep her entertained for hours. I did just kind of stick this on the window, and then whenever, you know, she was kind of getting a little bit fussy, just spin it. So it kind of would help her like at least snap out of it and just not be super fussy, but it's not something that would just, she would sit there and spin by herself. She kind of just gets over it because obviously she's a little bit too old for this. But I do think these are great options, especially they come in a 3-pack. So if you have a younger kid, this one's going to be perfect for them. For a 16-month-old, I would say have it. You know, you probably already have it from a younger stage, but don't expect it to keep them entertained. This one, I wouldn't classify as a hit or a miss. This is just kind of a simple like pop it toy. So it definitely didn't keep her entertained for a very long time, but again, I felt like it was a good reset toy. She does like to sit here and do this, and she'll do it, you know, for a few minutes, and then she just tosses it and she's kind of over it. But it wasn't something that as soon as we gave it to her, she just wasn't interested in. She will sit, she'll pop it a few times, and then she wants something else. So I do feel, again, this was a toy from her younger days, so I do feel like, you know, we already had it, so it was worth just trying. So if you do already have something like this, like something where they can just pop and fidget, at least for my daughter, as you'll see with the rest of these toys, that is kind of a theme, that something that they could just, you know, like fidget with and play with is gonna be the most entertaining. So this one is a little bit maybe too boring for a 16-month-old, but I do still think that it was worth having as just like a transitional toy. So now we'll get into one of her absolute favorites. This is just one of her favorites in general, like not just for road tripping. This was the gift that we got her for her first birthday, and it's her first busy book. A lot of busy books are for a lot older kids, and so it took me a really long time to find something that was worth getting a 12-month-old. And I will say, as much as I love this toy, and it genuinely is probably her most used toy since her first birthday, besides the Love Every toys, which I've talked about in several videos. But for a road trip, I would give this like a 9 out of 10, because it still kept her entertained for so long. If you have not looked at this book before, it has every single page, or if you haven't looked at a busy book in general, every single page has an activity to do. So not only will one page just keep her super entertained for a while, she gets over it, she flips to the next one. So it just kind of has a lot of activities for her to do. But the only problem with this one, for a road trip specifically, not just for life, is that all of the pieces come off pretty much. So that was the only thing. Like, it kept her super entertained, but when we got to our, you know, rest stop or where we're charging our car or whatever, we would just open the car and we're like, oh, and there's just all of these little pieces all over the ground. So as long as you're able to, if there's someone sitting back there with her, that would be even better. We didn't, but you're just gonna know that you're gonna have to clean up a lot and just make sure that you don't lose any of the pieces. But in general, it's still worth it in my opinion, because it kept her entertained for so long, because there's what, at least 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pages worth of stuff. And again, every single one has stuff for her to do, but yes, they all do come off. So that is something to be aware of. If you have someone sitting in the back seat, it might not be that big of a deal, but even if you don't, highly, highly recommend this one if they are under the 18-month level, because this one's perfect for that. As they get older, I know there's some cooler busy books that allow them to do things that they're able to do with their finger dexterity, but when they're a little bit on the younger toddler side, this one is perfect. Next, we have this, which honestly was a hit, and I wasn't sure if this one was going to be a hit, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily need to be this specifically. It's just any toy, kind of I guess along the same lines as this. If they only have one thing to do, like all they do is pop this, okay, they're over it. But they turn the page, then there's a new activity, you know, they turn the side, there's a new activity. It's just anything that has multiple things to do, obviously, right, is gonna keep them entertained for a longer time. So this toy specifically, again, doesn't need to be this toy, but just try to find like some sort of cube toy that has different things on each side. So this one does have a spinner. It has some clickers. This one has, you turn, push these buttons, turn this, unplug it, plug it back in. So I just feel like there's just like lots of things that she would just, you know, keep trying to play out, or keep spinning, or keep clicking. Like she just kept, whenever she'd get bored or something, she'd just turn it over. So this object just kept her so busy because there were just so many activities within the one object. So I do highly recommend this for around a 16-month-old. Now this, again, I probably thought it was a hit or miss, but I thought she was teething. I'm not sure if she was teething, but I thought she was teething on the trip. So I gave her one of these, which is just like basically a chew toy, but with, or a teething toy, I guess, but with so many different ends, and they're all like different characters. This was an absolute miss. Like she had zero interest in this. As soon as we'd hand it to her, she would just toss it. This was something from like her baby days that she's just absolutely not interested in at all anymore. If your baby likes to read, which my baby loves to read, this I was kind of unsure about. I was like, oh, this could be like a super mess, but this, you know, might work out. We actually just got this little bucket and we filled it with just like these teeny tiny handbooks and these teeny, like these small crinkle books. Obviously we didn't bring like any ginormous books because she probably would have just like hit herself with them, or she can't really read, obviously. But again, I feel like it's like following the same theme, right? Like anything or any object that you give her that has multiple activities within it is going to keep them entertained for longer, right? So since this was a giant thing filled with at least 20 plus books, this was one of the biggest hits. Like this kept her entertained for so long. Like she would literally just sit, flip through, toss it, go through the next one. But obviously, yeah, she tossed it when she's done, but there were so many in here that even if she spent a few minutes on each book, it turned into like 30 plus minutes of being entertained by this. So obviously I know this is not going to work for every kid. There are some kids who have zero interest in reading, but my daughter, even when she's home, she loves to just sit and flip through books. So that's why we were like, okay, let's just try it, make them like perfect size for her hands. So we found like these little teeny tiny books. One of them is Baby Einstein set, and the other one is the Eric Carle set. Obviously you don't need to get these specific ones, but I just feel like it's perfect when it's like the size of their hands, so she can just kind of flip through and be more independent. But this was a huge success. I really like that one. And then to kind of follow along the same lines, right? Again, if your baby does love books, any book that you can click and make noises, right? She can just flip through and she just would click all of the buttons, and there's however many pages there are here. So again, does not have to be this one, but just like the concept of this where, hey, it's a book, there's so many pages that I can flip through, and you're clicking through and hearing the words out loud. This was a huge hit as well. Like definitely kept her entertained for a very long time. Now this one was kind of not really a hit or a miss. It was just kind of like in between. I guess it would kind of be the same as like these two toys. So she loves stuffed animals. So I thought this might be a good idea because yes, it's a stuffed animal, but each part of the caterpillar has a different activity to do. So this unclips, this you can tie, this one is a zipper, this one is a clasp, and this one is like a Velcro, and then this one is just like for fun. So honestly, I think that this one was actually a little bit too difficult for her finger dexterity at least. So I'm not sure if an older kid would even be interested in something like this, because I don't know. I haven't gone there yet. But I do feel like if your kid is at a level where they are able to clip things in and, you know, clasp things and stuff, this might keep them entertained. I don't know, let me know in the comments if you have a kid who maybe would be entertained at this at an older level. But I feel like I'm gonna try this one again as she gets older, when she's actually like, she wasn't able to do any of this, so she just kind of would play with it, just like give it a few hugs, and then she was just kind of over it. So it wasn't a total miss. I feel like it could be good in the future, but I guess we'll see. I guess I'll have to let you guys know. This one I would also classify it as kind of like an in-between toy. It definitely wasn't a flop where she just like tossed it and didn't want to play with it, but again, follows the same lines, right? Every single side has a different activity. So she would sit here, she would spin these, she'd go on this side, she'd follow these around, and then this one had a mirror, which she really likes. So I feel like mirrors are really good for her age. She loves that. Then on the side, she has these little beads. So I just felt like every single side there was something to do. It wasn't like the books where it kept her entertained for 30+ minutes, but definitely a few minutes solid, just like, you know, trying to play with all the sides of this toy. So something like this, which again, it doesn't have to be this toy, but something with different activities on the side. Now, this last one we actually only had for the way back, but this one was by far the best toy of the day. And we only had it for the way back because she actually found it at my aunt's house, and I asked my aunt, I was like, where did you get this? This is the best thing, because I have been looking for a busy book like this forever, which kind of goes with what I was saying, right? She loves busy books, she loves reading, but having her take off every single piece of the busy book and just throw it, I was like, oh my gosh, even like if I wanted to bring that to a restaurant or something, that's just not really feasible because it's just too messy. But she found this, and my aunt didn't even know where she got it. So I went on Amazon. Everything on here I'm gonna link in my Amazon store, and I think this one is so old that it just doesn't exist anymore. But I found one that's very, very similar, just has one extra page, which is probably even better. But it's a busy book that none of the stuff, like none of the activities come off. So this, oh my gosh, this kept her entertained for so long, which is so funny because I felt like she wasn't interested in this because she can't like clasp or tie or anything, which is kind of all this one is. It's just like little buttons and this and strings and Velcros and zippers. So it's almost kind of the same thing, but for some reason, maybe just because it's in book format, she absolutely loves it. And she loves this side with like turning the clock and like moving this thing. So it just basically, in my opinion, and just with my daughter, because she loves books, anything book related was just like absolutely the best thing. And I think busy books hands down are the best toy. If you can find one that doesn't have pieces that come off, that's probably the best bet. And again, depending on how old your toddler is, will determine like what kind of busy book they want, because as they get older, you know, they can do like ABC type stuff or different things, or actually like, you know, ask them questions and they can answer this or whatever it may be. But even for now, a 16-month-old who doesn't have that much finger dexterity to be able to clip these in and do things, oh my gosh, still to this day, every single time we go to the store or do anything in the car, this is like the first thing. She either wants this or just a book to read. So like these are the two things that she's just obsessed with in the car. So cannot recommend busy books in general, but especially one with things that don't come off of it for a road trip. They will absolutely save your life. So these are all of the toys and activities that we did bring on our 8-hour road trip, and my honest thoughts on how well they all performed. Overall, I think the biggest takeaway is that you don't necessarily need a car full of toys to keep the toddler entertained. A few really engaging options tend to go a lot further than a dozen toys that they're only interested in for a minute or two. Of course, every child is different, right? So something that my daughter loved or was a huge hit for her might not work for yours, and vice versa. That's okay, but hopefully at least seeing both the successes and kind of the concept of the successes and the failures gives you a more realistic idea of what actually might be worth buying for your next trip just to try out. I'd love to hear from other parents in the comments. What is one toy or activity that has been an absolute game changer for your road trips or just kind of travel days? I'm already taking notes for our next adventure. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more family travel, toddler mom life, and honest product reviews. Thanks so much for watching. Now let's take a look at the culture shocks that we had after moving back to the US after living abroad for 8 years.